Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's Monday, June 17th, and while most of us are nursing weekend hangovers or sleepwalking into the week, I'm wide awake and locked in because the nonsense does not take a day off, and neither do we. Welcome to the Reaver Common Sense, broadcasting live on SHR Media and streaming Uncensored on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch. I'm your host, Jersey Joe, here to wreck the spin, expose the lies, and rip the mask off the political circus that hijacked this country. Tonight, we're firing on all cylinders, from a media still pushing fake narratives to Democrats flipping from blame Trump to weak neutral messaging as cities burn, to a historic family farm in New Jersey facing government theft in the name of affordable housing, eminent domain. Try imminent corruption. They even turned down $20 million, and now the city just wants to steal it. We've got the latest on the illegal immigration crisis. Yes, it's still a crisis, and we do have special guests tonight, and here and how it's fueling a black market. So massive, even Britain's bringing in the alarm. But don't worry, Biden's handlers are busy throwing out word salads while their party crumbles from within. Infighting, bad vibes, no direction. The Democrat ship is sinking, and we're here with a front row seat. This isn't just Monday night talk. It's a wake-up call. The machine counts on your silence, but we're here, and that means you're not asleep. You're not buying the spin. We're ready to fight for the country the elites are trying to erase. So grab your coffee, your whiskey, your rum, or whatever keeps your blood pressure in check, because we're diving head first into the week's madness with no filter, no script, and no apology. This is your refugee. Yeah. This is your refugee from an echo chamber. This is the resistance against the nonsense. And this is the Reaver Common Sense, and I'm just getting started. But before we rip into it, smash the like button, hit the subscribe, and help keep real talk alive. Conservative media done right, only on SHR Media. And I want to welcome BZ. How you doing, sir? How are you doing tonight? Uh-oh. Can you hear me, sir?
Oh my God. You know, I hate to be on shows that are boring and they're not going to talk about anything.
No, we're not going to talk about anything. But I do have a special something tonight that I want to start the show off with. Let me pop it on. And I took my cue from you. And
again, the streets are filled with flames. The news is full of madness, and no one takes the blame. The price of eggs is $5 now. The gas is even lower. But don't you dare ask questions, or you'll just get called the worst. Blame Trump, blame Trump. It's easier than truth. He ruined all our weekends and corrupted all our youth. Blame Trump, blame Trump. It's all his evil plan. He tweets at 3 a.m. and now they're pinning soda cans. They say shouldn't be in office, but facts don't matter now. Blame him for the weather and Jeffrey kept out. Lower inflation, secure border, and no tax censorship too. If you're not sure who's guilty, here's what you should do. Blame Trump, blame Trump. That's how the game is played. Ignore what we've been doing. Just blame the orange shade. Blame Trump, blame Trump. Forever.
now I'm hoping this gets stuck in your head tonight, everybody. I hope that definitely gets stuck in your head.
How are you calling for a brainworm?
Oh, I got to figure out where I can release the full version of that. And hey, Big E and Sackhead Sean are in the chat along with BZ, of course, and the Phantom. How is everybody doing tonight? How are you doing, sir?
America's doing well. I'm not so sure about
Yeah.
Israel and Iran. Things are changing. But like I say, I don't understand, for one, I don't understand why you invited me on a show that's going to be so incredibly boring tonight. I
I know.
wish there were topics to speak about.
I don't think there's anything to talk about. I mean, that's why I needed you to come on. So I had somebody to talk to besides myself.
Okay. Well, now that I understand, I get that.
Real quick to answer Stackhead Sean, if you go into our upload site, what is it? The Google Drive, and go to the Reaver Common Sense. I think it's commercial. I have it uploaded there if you want to grab it. Canadian heavy haulers here too tonight. So where should we start? The one thing I'm going to, and this might upset some people, but
I'm upset.
There's
You've
too much
upset me
information
already.
going on. And I know some of you expect me to dig into the story out of Minnesota involving the shooting. And normally I'd be the first in line to call out the double standards, media silence, and the political spin. But this time I'm holding back a little bit, and here's why. Details are sketchy. There's more questions than answer. The timeline's off. The charges charges are adding up now because of the way Minnesota law is. The so-called roommates video that's circulating, that thing raises more red flags than answers. Why did he still have that footage or audio? Why wasn't he immediately interviewed by police? There's too many questions going on with it. And I'll admit, I think I got some stuff wrong on X, and I have no problem admitting that. Until some facts come out, I don't really want to touch on it right now. I mean, do you disagree on that, BZ?
Well, the whole thing stinks like Stephen Paddock stank. The only thing I think anybody can agree upon is that, yeah, people were murdered.
Yep.
In the case of Paddock, tons of them. But there were so many conflicts that even 3 years plus later, they're completely unresolved. We still essentially know no more today than we did then. And you cannot convince me, because I've been dragged kicking and screaming from the column over here of Common Sense, and yeah, let's just wait because this will all fall out and we'll have a good understanding of all of that. And I've been dragged way the fuck over here to, I said it was a conspiracy theory, but all of that shit has oddly turned out to be true. And so is there a middle point anymore? We're apparently not seeing it.
No.
On that guy from Michigan. So what the hell? He killed people. That's about all we know.
I hate being wrong. I hate putting out wrong information. That's not what I try to do. And I don't know what's actual information, what is actual information. You have the police saying there's a manifesto and they're not going to release it. Then it's, there's not a manifesto, so there's nothing to release. And it just, I don't know.
A sad state of affair is in terms of, and it definitely started with, I think, San Bernardino and the two little muzzies that were killing people in San Bernardino, and the law enforcement people covered that up. And then the tranny shootings, and the law enforcement people covered that up, especially the manifesto. I've been, again, disabused of believing in law enforcement. Now, not 100%, but damn near. And if it involves any maker manner of a leftist urban rat cage, I don't believe their shit anymore.
And what it's got me is the major back off and silence from the left on it, especially today on X. A couple of them were out there blaming Trump for the most part. A lot of them backed off this story and going back to the big, beautiful bill and attacking that. So it's just not adding up. And if we go all the way back to like Trayvon Martin, I mean, how many false stories were told about that? The St. Louis hands up, don't shoot. I don't believe it.
You have to gauge law enforcement and the American media maggots and leftists and Democrats, because now what you have to understand is what's unsaid now is every bit as important as what is said. As in, for example, Epstein. if Trump were named, if Trump was on a list, if Trump was part of boy fucking and girl fucking and peeing on beds, etc., that shit would have been rampant all over social media, not just for days, but for weeks and months and years. And because it isn't, that makes a huge, huge statement. And then
they were looking for anything and everything to prosecute that man with. When he announced that he was running again, they created crimes so that they can prosecute him. So if he was on that list, they would have burned anybody and everybody down just to burn him down. So
that's Beria in Russia said during World War II. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And what that essentially says is, we'll make shit up. You show me the person over here, and I'll fabricate the appropriate crime to be the accuser of. That's how it's played in 2025, ever since essentially 2015.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad you're here tonight because I got a story that
I'm not.
I think
everything is so boring. God, I wish you'd come up with a good topic.
I think I got a topic that's right up your alley that you'll like. And let me scroll down to it. So many notes, so many segments I created, and I never get through all of them. But I'd rather have too many segments than not enough.
Well, Mission Ready Men, while you're thinking about that, down in chat says, if there was anything, they would have used it long ago. Yeah. And that's true. You can point also that particular finger at the guy in Michigan that was found in a field where nothing adds up. Trust me, if leftists and Democrats had just a shit ton of material hanging over Trump's head, this guy was a Trumplican. This guy voted consistent conservative and Republican. This guy was doing it on behalf of Trump. He was an operative. If they had a fraction of that, again, what you don't see is every bit as clearly indicative of what you do see. And when it's radio silence, somewhat, not totally, that's another clear indicator.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, this comes from my old neck of the woods, out of Cranberry, New Jersey, and they didn't even have a high school. That's how small this town pretty much is. They sent them over to my town, which was like a 40-minute bus drive for these kids. But
did you have a stoplight?
I don't know. Well, my town did. This one I'm not sure of. But the city is now trying to seize a 175-year-old family farm. Not for a highway, not for a hospital, not even for public infrastructure, but to replace it with affordable housing. These developers have gone to the point of offering $20 million to this family that they turned down, because they don't want to sell it. The farm's not in trouble. It's not in financial solvency. It's doing good. And these companies are trying to buy the land to build housing on it. They won't sell. So they ran to the local government, who is now trying to take the land from this family by eminent domain. Surprise, surprise. Democrat control council. What do you think?
Yellowstone Ranch, train station. I think I've said enough.
The scary part is I know exactly what you're talking about with that.
And so do a lot of people.
Yeah. It's one, I don't understand how any government, whether federal or local or state, could try to take land from a family in the name of a private development company. That doesn't fall underneath eminent domain. That's stealing the land, forcing a sale for a company. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the other question that you have to ask is what's surrounding that property? Now, I haven't read the story. I'm not familiar with the area. I don't know what it looks like. I'm guessing that particular family has a number of acres.
Yep.
Whether it's 10, 20, 100, 1, 3, I don't know. I honestly don't know. One of the first questions that I would have is what's around that farm?
Housing.
Okay, so they're completely sewn in. They're surrounded.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And when I lived up there and when I was growing up, that area was 75, 80% farmland. And now they're overdeveloping it. And it's just, now you got to remember, New Jersey's supposed to be called the Garden State.
Yeah.
And here we got land being ripped from this family. I mean, 175 years. They don't want to give it up. I think it's an overreach of the government.
But here's the deal. When you try to fight, though these people have 175 years of history on this land, not entirely dissimilar to the Yellowstone Ranch. There are some similarities there. What in the government allows them to go ahead and do that? For whom will this be? How many other housing areas are around? Now, if they're saying this is for low-income housing, what are the strictures that already exist within that? I don't know. Is that in a township, in a
Township,
a city, incorporated, unincorporated?
I would say incorporated. Pretty much New Jersey runs on each town is incorporated and runs their own little section, own police. Everything's all self-contained.
Okay. Cui bono? That's the first question. And let me translate for the leftists out there amongst you. Who benefits? In other words, how many motherfuckers in that council or district or board or whatever it is that they're calling themselves, how many people are paid off by the developers? Some, all, just enough for a number of votes, a full quorum? How many people are being paid? Always the first question to ask. Who benefits?
And that's what a lot of people are questioning right now. Who's benefiting and why is the township getting involved in it? You can go throughout Mercer County and Middlesex County, and they're calling it Middlesex. I remember it being Mercer County, but that's neither here or there. There's plenty of abandoned properties. Brain fart right there. Sorry. It's just an empty land that they can choose. Besides this, why they're going after this property is it's flabbergasting. And I mean, you offer the people $20 million and they turned you down. You'd think you'd go on to something else, but this is New Jersey.
Well, the government and the people that run the government and the corporate government interests think that money can buy anything and everything. And in some cases, that really is true. But it gets to the point where I have another example. There's a little town south of Sacramento in California, always spell it with a K, which was originally a very rural area called Elk Grove. And then south of Elk Grove, which is south of Sacramento, that's in the Sacramento Valley. The Sacramento Valley and the San Joaquin Valley have some of the finest soil in the entire state of California, always spell it with a K. That soil essentially is second to none for growing all sorts of things. So because someone came in with a lot of money, they put up massive solar farms over some of the finest growing soil in all of the state. Well, the parallel that I'm attempting to make is, when do you stop the growth? And when do you figure that, like a lot of these people think, fuck it, farmland, farmers, cows, food, who gives a shit? I can get anything I want at the supermarket. And sadly enough, all too many Americans are of that mindset. They're just damn stupid. And I will continue to say it. The bulk of Americans are stupid, particularly those in leftist urban rat cages. I'm talking to you. You're primarily stupid. Most people can't tell the difference between the signs that delineate a city and the signs that delineate a county. What's a police officer versus a deputy sheriff? What are the forms of government? What are the three branches of the federal government? No one can tell you No one knows. And that's why people like that in leftist urban rat cages are prime for takeover by other people who use those ignorance as useful idiots. And they're useful idiots. So again, at what point does it become an issue in terms of growing food? Because do we go out and begin importing more food from foreign countries? Do we become even more beholden to foreign countries for food? Well, BZ, look at all the land that's all around us. Look at how much land that isn't being used for anything all around the United States of America. You're just being evil, harsh, and judgmental. How much of that land is arable?
Exactly. All right, it's actually that time for a break, but I want to give a little reminder that
why haven't you broken?
I know. I've broken them many years ago.
Damn it, Jim.
Don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe and help us keep Real Talk alive. Conservative media done right, only here on shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
What is the Edge of Liberty? News, politics, commentary, sarcasm, alcohol, and high blood pressure. It's as American as a good revolution. So tune in every Monday and Friday at 12 Pacific, 3 p.m. on the East Coast on the SHR Media Network and KLRN Radio. For details, visit www.shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I'm your host, Jersey Joe, here to make sense out of the senseless right here on shrmedia.com. Conservative media done right. Don't forget, once the show ends, an hour after I end tonight is Edge of Liberty with Sackhead Sean. That is 8 p.m. on the left coast, 11 p.m. on the right coast. Oh, let's see. Where are we going to go next? Now, this is something that actually happened in April. How you doing? D-La-No in the chat room. How you doing? Eric Adams left the Democrat Party. Did you know that?
He'd been making mouth music like he was going to. I've heard, this is weird, I've heard intimations that even Fetterman is considering it. KJP, in order to sell a book, that lascivious wench, she went independent. So some people are eschewing Gesundheit, that kind of thing. But I didn't know that Eric Adams went full. Okay, so did he leave the Democrat Party, and did he actually engage in becoming another party, a Republican?
No, he's running as independent. He was originally a Republican, then went Democrat. But what he talked about, because he was on Fox News. No, I did not watch it because you get your news from Fox News. No, I saw a highlight that he was on there. Where is it? He's running for re-election as independent, and it's clear why. His party abandoned him from being hammered by progressives to being left holding the bag on a migrant crisis. Adams got the message. There's no room for moderates in the Democrat Party. But it goes deeper than just policy difference. One of the tipping points, the dangerous rhetoric coming from his own side. Adams has publicly warned about Democrats labeling Republicans as fascists, Nazis, or even Hitler. He's seen firsthand how language like that doesn't just divide, it incites. And it's just funny because that's what we're seeing now, this political violence that is engulfing this country. And I'm not going to say the Republicans are 100% innocent in this. I'm not, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not here to talk about that. I talk about issues with the Democrat Party, and the violence that has come from them lately is louder than anything I've heard about Republicans doing.
Well, that's clear. That's facts. Those are facts and evidence. Historically, Democrats, leftists, globalists have been those of violence and regime change all over. You know, there's enough guilt and finger pointing to go around. But let's go back to Eric Adams just for a second. Isn't it strange? I posit, isn't it strange? That he was a Republican when he was a cop, because he was subject to the bullshit that Democrats push on cops. So he had sympathies until he decided that he was going to go political. Now, he may be dumb, but he's not stupid in terms of realizing that if you want to go anywhere in New York State, you're not going to go anywhere being a Republican. Right. So, boom, I kick you to the curb. Bye-bye. Gets elected as mayor. Then, let's see. Governor Abbott begins to send little buses up to New York City. And then he discovers what the border states have known for, 50 years, is that illegal invaders strip you of everything. They're like locusts. They chomp, they eat, they strip you of infrastructure, they strip you of cash, they strip you of your freedom, they strip you of your security. MS-13 comes in, the cartels run wild, and only when he is personally affected, his personal fucking ox got gored, then and only then did he begin to see the light in terms of Democrats. They may not be my friends. Oh, woe is me. So then he changes. This is another political animal, another political piece of shit that bends according to whatever political prairie wind happens to be blowing at that exact same time. Now let something else go, wrong somewhere else, then, or if the Democrats come into power, whose ass and scrotal sack will he be sucking when it comes back? Will he be whining to come back to the Democrat Party if they come back into strength, into numbers in 2026, in 2028? And the answer is, oh, hell yeah. He doesn't mind whose scrotal sack or whose clitty he's licking. He really doesn't care.
Spot on. So I'm just the imagery that you just gave me just made me laugh. And also,
I'm not paid the big
was running
bucks to be
independent.
nice.
I don't blame you. It's getting. I try.
I mean, aren't you tired of this shit?
I'm tired.
Everybody listening, aren't you tired of this shit? Everybody watching, aren't you tired of this shit?
It is. It's just. I don't want to see violence. I don't want to see. I'm not saying we're not going to go there.
Tell me what the alternative is at this point.
No. I'm not. I didn't say that. I don't want it. I don't want to see it.
I don't want it either.
I don't know what the answer is anymore. There's no civility going on, and there's no compromise going on. We've tried working with the left for decades. They wanted, and then, who was it? Harry Reid, I think it was, and Obama both said they're willing to compromise as long as it's their way. And we brought up about the left's violence. A healthcare CEO was executed in New York by an anti-corporate radical on the left. They firebombed Tesla dealerships. They killed 2 Israel ambassador workers. They were murdered in cold blood. We know that's the left because, well, free Palestine. We had the Boulder firebombing incident where a guy went to a pro-Israel march, injuring 16 people and killing one by throwing Molotov cocktails in a handmade flamethrower. The LA riots, and then throw in the 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump. And don't tell me they were Republicans. A Republican is not going to try to take out their own candidate. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Well, there was an X release, a post from a guy named Chris Murphy, a Democrat. I don't know from where he originates, but I go back to. Well, first, let me read the post to you. Connecticut. Okay, I'm looking here. He's from Connecticut. No fucking shock there. Chris Murphy says, there is no comparison anywhere on the left with MAGA's regular legitimization of violence in our politics. There is a straight line from January 6th to the pardons to the assault on Senator Padilla to Minnesota. A democracy cannot function when one faction embraces violence. So let me stop. And if you as an individual Jersey Joe, everybody that's watching and listening here tonight, live or in podcast, I say this to you. How can you possibly deal with people who write and say shit like this?
Yep.
There is no middle ground here.
No, and
there is no more room for bipartisanship and compromise. That shit is dead. What they're saying, the Democrats and the leftists, is the precise opposite of what's happening. Right before our eyes, it's major gaslighting. It never ends, and they never stop lying. It's trying to have it. I made a comparison. It's like trying to have some kind of even a remotely cogent conversation with a potted ficus. You know, who's the fucking nut job for trying to do that? It's the person trying to engage in conversation. You're the nut job. You know, these people over here are fucking insane. Yeah. But for trying to engage, who is the nut job now?
And I see it all the time on X. You try to engage, you try to have conversation, and it's just sexual comments thrown at you, you know, and I'm not going to repeat the shit that's said. It's vile, it's disgusting, and there's no place for a civil debate. And that's why I've said the last show or two that I don't know if we're going to be able to get back to a country we were, and whether we can stay one single country. We might wind up divided.
I go back to Kurt Schlichter. I used to have Kurt Schlichter on my show a whole bunch of times. And then he got really big, and then my show went away, blah, 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 blah. And Kurt Schlichter wrote a whole bunch of books about the doom of America. And it was essentially just a terrible, barbaric split of the United States, in which blue states went blue, red states went red, and ne'er the twain met. And then they had a horrific civil war because originally stemming from leftists would not give up. People on the right, Republicans and conservatives, they wouldn't accede. So the only thing to do at that point was to split. Mission Ready Men is absolutely correct when he says in the chat there, Murphy is an unserious, unself-aware moron, as are about 97%, 99% of the Democrats and about 100% of the leftists in this country. There are a few with hope, John Fetterman. But then again, look at what this guy went through, and then look at how he's attacked for attempting to moderate just a little bit. And now he's the devil.
Yeah, it's the only problem with Fetterman. He says a lot, but when he votes, he still votes in line. And that's what bothers me about him. But yeah, he's been out there a lot. He went on Bill Maher's show. He spoke out against the rhetoric about the Army celebration this past weekend. He has gone against the Democrat Party a lot lately, and
because they're fucking nuts. Yeah, they're fucking nuts. For those of you who just tuned in, they're fucking nuts.
Especially when I see, Schumer went out there not too long ago saying how Trump had the record low approval, and it was in the 40s or something like that. And the reporter came out and said, and I'm not quoting exactly, basically came out and said, well, how do you justify saying that when you're got the record low at 17% and polls come and go and you can't trust them?
Yeah.
And it wasn't kind of like 5 minutes later this happened. It was, I'm bashing Trump on the polls, get questioned about my polls, and then, polls don't mean shit. Blah. But that's the crazy delusional shit they say. And Sackhead Sean's right. He corrected me one time on that, calling them delusional. Delusional is unintentional. What they're doing is intentional. But no, I'm hoping some of this shit is unintentional, that they've just lost their mind.
Democrats are like a movie in terms of, ideally, if you see a movie, you have to assume that everything that's in that movie was put there intentionally because you had every bit of time and money available to either include more or excise. So whatever it is that you see in a movie, it's because they want you to see that. It's true with the Democrats. They're saying things that normal people think, that's just fucking. Now they're finally saying the silent part out loud. You need to be killed. Jersey Joe, let me point to you properly right here. You need to die. And the Democrats and the leftists and the globalists don't mind saying so. The Georgia Guidestones said so. 500 million people is all this planet needs to have. Boom, Georgia Guidestones.
We're the carbon that they want to remove.
Yeah, but
let me bring in Sackhead Sean just got here. So let me pop him in real quick.
How much did he pay you?
I had to pay him to get him to come on. He's getting too big for my show.
Joe, until that check clears, I'm not going to say much. I'm just going
to move along.
Just ignore the rubber that it was printed on.
Yeah, no shit. I won't put it up to the light.
Oh man. Well, here's one that I heard today that just shows the delusional of the left. Mayor Bass is mandating that the federal government pay for all repairs to LA because Trump's military caused it all.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere. That's
Yeah.
that's like Karen Bass.
Sweetheart, do me a favor. Go out in front of the city hall and stick your hand out and just wait. That check's coming any minute now.
It was
Don't-
already
don't-
announced that they're not paying for
don't
any
you-
repairs.
Don't you go anywhere. You just sit there and wait for that check. Rain, sleet, or snow, it'll come.
Karen Bass, the member of the Venceramos Brigade, a Democrat Socialist Brigade, a lover of Castro, and she's running Los Angeles. Couldn't run a wildfire situation, couldn't run reservoirs, and now she wants all the people who were victims of riots to go out themselves and clean up Los Angeles. Not the instigators, not the suspects, not the rioters themselves. She wants the people who pay the taxes to go up and clean Los Angeles.
Now, you're both smarter than me. Can you explain how?
Don't be so sure.
I'm 100% positive. Go ahead.
Yeah. How is militarizing Los Angeles by placing troops on federal property to protect the building?
Well, you got to walk that all the way back because that's their thing now. Trump caused the violence by bringing in all these troops, and that's what really kicked it off. When the riots were going for a few days prior to the troops being activated, Trump saw it, remembered what happened the last time he was in office up in Portland, and said, we need to protect the federal buildings because last time another group of assholes just like these decided to destroy a federal building. So he brought them in to protect the federal buildings. They are not actively patrolling, as I said on my show the other night. They are not the only ones that are. There are certain National Guard members that are going as support for ICE on high-risk raids, but they are not out actively just yanking people on the street. They're there for very specific reasons that they're trained for and legally allowed to do.
Yep. Well, one thing is, and he came out and said it, and I put it a different way before he put it out there, is he listened to one California Democrat, 5 years ago? And he didn't override and put National Guard out there for a protest. And what happened? He got impeached.
Mm-hmm.
So now he went, you know what? I've learned my lesson. He even said, I learned my lesson. Another California Democrat telling him we don't need National Guard. Yeah, I'm going to ignore that. Because if he didn't put National Guard out there and override them, what do you think the story would be now?
Oh, yeah, no, Trump let the city fall. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. I mean, there's no, this, no matter what Trump did or didn't do, they were going to complain that his action and or inaction was not correct. And it's what led to all of this violence. This was going to be his fault. And they don't go, they don't go back to the core problem, which is the 10, 20, some say 30 million illegal immigrants that were allowed to flow over the border into the country, millions into California itself. There's an estimate of over 1 million illegals living in LA itself. They ignore all of that shit. But when people start acting up because
pillar of the community,
unfuck what Biden fucked up, then they go batshit crazy.
Los Angeles is, by data, the second largest Mexican city in the world, just behind Mexico City. That is also called a clue.
FBI clue.
But don't forget, that's the ancestral land of Mexicans. For 27 years?
You mean the assholes who were conquered by Spain, which is why they speak Spanish. Those Mexicans?
Well, the Mexicans that only had control of that land for 27 years, and it wasn't even 27 years. Technically, it was 24 because the United States kind of took control for the last 3 years. And we've had control for 175 years.
Since the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Yep. And before that, it's so funny how people love to choose who owns the land and choose how far back that goes when it's appropriate. Because who did the Mexicans, when they took over that part of California, Arizona, New Mexico, and part of Nevada, who did they displace from lands to take over and fought with? The Native Americans. So all of a sudden, the Native Americans aren't important. The Mexicans are. It was their land.
But if you want to talk ancestral lands, their ancestral lands are Asia.
Who installed missions up and down California? Always spell it with a K. Mexicans. Thank you very much. In an attempt to what? Take over the people and convert the minds of the people.
Yep, to Catholicism and Christianity.
That's
Catholicism, namely.
I'm going to jump around a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was kind of proud of myself today. And something popped in my head from these leftists and their democracy all the time, screaming democracy and we the people, because Raskin's right now on this tear of we the people because of these fucking bullshit protests that just happened Saturday. I went to a local protest around me and there were maybe 50 people on the street.
I'm going to do some math on my show later on tonight about no kings.
But they talk about democracy. Democracy at its basis is majority rules. Okay, we have 77 million people voted for Trump. You have 1 to 5 million people that went out on a street Saturday. So democracy says that Trump rules, not that small amount. Am I wrong on that?
You're wrong on that. God, you are wrong.
Joe, I'll tell you exactly why you're wrong. I'm sure BZ's of the same mindset. It's because you're not.
Wait.
No, I mean, look, they're going to do what they always do. They're going to grasp at the intangible. They're going to say this and that, which is why I did the same thing when I put out that post with all the numbers, and I'll break that down on my show tonight. Essentially, I said, wait a minute. You're equating these 2,000 locations that happen all across the country as this huge event. You're pulling out Philly that had 30,000 people or whatever it was, LA that had 50,000, whatever the number was. I have it written down. And you're saying this was this humongous, awesome event. Meanwhile, Trump did 500 rallies in his two different campaigns. And he has numbers that quadruple the average of all of those. If you add up all the 2,000 sites and all the estimated people there, he's getting numbers in 500 events, all spread out, that absolutely trounce the No Kings event.
Yeah. They sit there and they say, we the people, because conservatives talk about we the people. The numbers are not matching up, so it is not we the people. And what you're talking about is trying to overthrow the will of the people when you sit there and you promote, well, it's the will of the people. Yes, the will of the people want deportation, and not just the criminal deportation, because guess what? They are all fucking criminals. Because how many of them that came across the border illegally, whether they were forced to or not, muled drugs that fueled the fentanyl crisis in this country?
Well, just coming over the border is illegal. And the other thing you have to remember is the left is trying to out alpha the right now. They're using things like we the people. They still use democracy in place of republic because they try to convince young Americans that we're a pure democracy, and we're not. And they're doing all this cussing and swearing that we've all been talking about, right? All this tough guy act and BS. And Jamie Raskin, who is a hobbit of a human being, and I mean that in the absolute most insulting way.
He's despicable.
Is an absolute fork-tongued piece of garbage. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows who he is. And he just is allowed to continue this. It's like Eric Swalwell, right? You bang a Chinese spy. You sell all these lies about Trump during the last election, and you get to maintain your seat because the idiots will still vote with anything with the D next to it or in their mouth.
Yep. Well, I was going to ask, who do you think's more of a piece of shit? Adam Schiff, Swallowall, or Raskin?
Schiff has greater seniority and length. He's been a piece of shit for a greater amount of time, so I vote for Schiff.
I don't look. I haven't seen all three of their penises. Clearly, BZ has. That's why he's judging them by length.
Thank you.
I haven't. I'm going to go with Raskin, and here's why. Schiff is like that loud, annoying person that you just, I mean,
he's kind of like me in a lot of ways, and I'll admit that. But he's just no, he's this loud, obnoxious person who does nothing but lie. But he tries to do this in this very genteel and polite and let me tell you, blah 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 blah. Right? He has that real sing-song manner of talking, and he's got like the freaky eyes and shit. Swalwell is the kid that was never cool ever in his fucking life.
Never picked, always got hit in dodgeball.
And then he just happened to run in an area that he can win because there's a giant D next to it. Raskin is he's like the interloper who blends in. He is behind the scenes. He says a lot of things out loud. You see him on a lot of things. But I think what he doesn't say, the rhetoric that he starts quietly, the things that he gets into motion quietly, I think he's pulling more strings than people give him credit for. And I think he scares me more.
Let me state the obvious. There are arm hairs on Sean's arm that are longer than Raskin's dick.
And there's actually more hair on my arm than there is on his
I'm
head.
going to go shift. And here's a couple reasons why. Number one, the shit he said about the Benghazi 4, calling them all liars, why he sat behind a desk in safety. And then when they called him out and asked for a meeting, he again hid behind his desk like a little chicken shit. He not only has lied to the American people, I mean, he has criminally lied in Congress. He lied about Trump with the impeachments. He's lied about having evidence. He's lied about one of the whistleblowers. I mean, he has criminally lied to this country and cost us billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I pick shift over those. Raskin is next. Yeah, Swallowall is more that kid that's trying to act cool that you always laugh at. You bring him to the party. So, we had one kid that, always annoy the shit, but we bring him to the party. And like one time, I'll go on a beer one. Would you? Oh, we got to go 2 towns over to get it. I got to get out of the car because we got to go to this place and we don't need you with us. And left them there. And then he still came back to the party the next night. Hi, guys. That's Swallowall.
Okay. I'm not arguing with that.
But I just thought I'd throw that out there. And Mission Ready Men, this is to Sean. Why are you insulting hobbits that way? Why are you insulting my wife and child like that?
Sorry. He is, everything about him. If you ever see him, they don't show him a lot, and I think he does this on purpose, walking or standing. But if you look at him, he definitely echoes a hobbit. There's nothing.
Echo like a fart echo?
No, that's Swalwell.
Oh, damn it.
On TV.
Oh, man. You said any updates? Because you would have them for what's going on in Israel.
So I think the last alert has ended. There's been 3 incoming missile alerts in Israel today. None of them have been at all close to what the last couple nights have been. I think a total of 17 missiles total have been fired today from what I've been able to gather through all the different information. As of right now, the IDF is claiming a 97% kill rate on incoming missiles. A few have hit, a few have taken lives and caused damage, but they've got a 97%. They're saying 100% on the drones. 100% on the drones. The drones are just not going to work.
Well, I know we've knocked down a couple too.
It's just, and they're slow and easy, and they're using their attack helicopters to take them out. Like they're not doing anything. So we're waiting from that. Trump suddenly left the G7 tonight. He is requesting that the National Security Council be in the Situation Room when he lands. We moved 20 tankers last night overseas. There's another 5 up heading overseas as we speak.
That's interesting tankers. With his tweet he put out tonight.
He also put out that tweet that said essentially telling everyone to get the fuck out of Iran is what Tehran.
Yeah.
And the thing that keeps sticking with me is we know Mossad is on the ground there. They've had numerous reports of simultaneous car bombs being driven by prominent Iranian military personnel going off at the same time. We know they were in there. They snuck in there and they did the same type of drone attack Ukraine did on Russia. And they used that to take out a lot of the air defenses and radar sites and missile launching capabilities of Iran. So we know Mossad is on the ground there. Part of me is wondering if he isn't calling for the city to clear out so Mossad can move around more easily, or they know a UN one of the UN inspectors, I believe, I think it was UN inspector, said earlier that the amount of what they believe to be 90% enriched uranium or 60% enriched uranium, they can move in about 45 of the 3-foot tall canisters, and they think that they've moved it out of Fordo. And I'm also wondering if they're not tracking that, trying to find where they moved it to attack. And if it means downtown Tehran, then they're probably just going to level the entire block of downtown Tehran just to make sure that doesn't happen. It's really interesting. America, Pete Hegseth, and just about everybody said, hey, America's not getting involved. We're in a strictly defensive positions. We're moving assets just in case something happens and we need to respond to our troops or
Well, Iran did make the threat to
whatever.
attack our bases, so
yeah. And I think
it was chest thumping, but
yeah, and I don't know what capabilities Iran has left at this point.
I think that's why there's not that many missiles being fired today, because I'm wondering if they blew their load.
Said today, one of the Iranian official posts was that they're going to rain hellfire onto Israel today, and it was going to be the most intense night ever. And what did I say? 17 total in 3 different attacks. Our buddy Steve Lookner hasn't even been able to get one on camera. That's how spread out they've been. So it tells you that I think Iran is fumbling, and you really have to question what the end game is. Are we going to sneak over a B2 and drop a couple of bunker busters on Fordo because that's where their enriching capability is? That's the one that's buried. Or is Mossad going into Fordo and they're going to take it out that way? The question, I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. Only time will tell.
If all of a sudden Fordo gets eliminated, and we hear it 3 months from now, because the Iranians will probably never admit it, then that we snuck a B2 over, because the B2 is the only thing that can carry the GBU bunker buster, GBU 57, I think. It's the only plane that we have that's rated for it. The B-52 was in test for it, but it hasn't been publicly certified, but the B2 has been. And again, B2 stealth, they'd never know it, we'd never know it. But if all of a sudden that Fordo is destroyed for no reason, we know what the reason is. So it's a very interesting predicament. The other thing too is them clearing out Tehran. Are they targeting the Ayatollah and the actual head of government of Iran to force a regime change, which is very possible?
With
the other thing that I've noted
from Ninyatu saying that they actually stopped several assassination attempts on Trump. They said,
we know that. We know an Iranian guy was arrested just before the election, and I think it was in Florida or New York. It was one of the two. There was an Iranian guy that was arrested that was here to kill Trump. And the other thing you got to ask, or the other thing I've noticed too, is the son of the former Shah. He's still technically the crown prince of Iran, who is in Great Britain, and other family members have been all over media the last few days. And I get it. Headlines on Iran right now. It's a reason for them to talk. But are they part of the long-term plan too, to restore the Shah? Who knows?
We're going to find out.
Just took my whole segment out.
Well, actually, I was going to say, because it's getting at the end of the show, I want to let you give where you can be found and all that, so you can go finish getting ready for your show.
Yes,
but
sir.
before you do that, actually, let me throw something out there. I know I cut you off. Friday's show for my show is going to be a special climate change, the whole hoax. So
that's going to be good. I read the show notes on it. I think people are going to enjoy it.
Thank you for going over that too.
Some people get sent show notes, but other people don't get sent show notes.
I'll be look. You know how expensive it is nobody.
Nope.
No, hey,
Those are
BZ,
your
now
show
hold
notes
on a
to
second,
send.
BZ.
I
In his
don't
defense,
have anything to do with sending of show notes. I know who the
in
favorite
his
child
defense,
is.
you only read show notes off of granite slabs that have been carved into, right? Do you know how expensive that is to ship out to you for review?
Cost should not be material at all.
Do you know how much it costs to have someone chisel it out,
Just
transcribe
by
it?
weight alone. I mean, it's like 60, 70 pages, BZ. That's at least a semi truck.
You love me or you don't. It's apparent. It's apparent who loves me and who doesn't.
I said you show notes.
All right, Sean, tell us where they can find you.
Well, in an
I've
hour,
seen
right
you.
here on the SHR Media Network, on X, YouTube, Facebook Live, Rumble, Twitch. But that is every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You can follow me on X, the number 2 Against Tyranny. And I want to throw a shout out to my friend Ryan, who's actually watching your show tonight. And I also tonight will announce who officially was Mrs. or Mr. 500.
Ooh.
So that'll be on my show tonight. I'm going to kick that off right at the top because I know people have been waiting. I
We know
hear
two
about it
people
more than
have
you care to,
500
talk about.
What? Orgasms? What?
No,
500
follow us on YouTube.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. All right, Sean.
I passed the 500 orgasm. I was like 14 and a half.
Thank you.
By
like
yourself.
Okay.
It took like
That's
a week.
the only thing deserving of this tonight.
Took like a week.
Me.
All right, sir. You have a good night, and we'll see you in an hour. All right, BZ, it's your turn.
Do you really want to see him in an hour?
Yeah, I'll be here for him.
Votes? Anybody out there who wants to see Sean in an hour?
Hopefully, everybody.
Hopefully, everybody. Anyway, I'm BZ. I'll be here Tuesday night and Thursday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night, I'm having the return of Lonnie Poindexter, who, after a triple bypass, has deemed it he can come back, and he's going to be talking about that. And then Thursday night, I'm having a retired U.S. Navy SEAL on, Dan Toff, who's going to be talking about his exploits as well as his creation of the BIG, the Bigfoot Investigative Group, the conference I went to go see on May 24th last month. It was a hoot. He's a hoot. It'll be a ton, 1 metric ton of fun. You got to be there. Aloha.
I want to thank you, sir, for being here tonight.
I am deserving of all your thanks.
It is an honor, and I do mean this. It's an honor having you here.
Accolades.
You're the man.
Better than being the woman.
That would be a Democrat.
Thank you.
All right, sir. You have a good night. Oh, and that's going to be the show. And again, Friday is going to be a special. Unless some breaking massive news happens, it will be, I'll be going over it's a climate hoax, but that does not mean we shouldn't take care of our planet. And that's where a lot of people are going to freak out about, because just because I don't believe in this political push doesn't mean I don't believe in conservative values in the environment. But we're going to go over more of that. And like I said, this show went by real quick. And I want to thank everybody that's in chat, from Canada, Heavy Hall, Ryan, Sackhead Sean, Big E, BZ, De Lano, The Phantom. Oh, it's all there. But what we're witnessing isn't chaos. And I didn't get through all the subjects that I wanted to, that I'll talk about in the closing. But it's an orchestrated takedown. A slow motion war on Americans' principle. It's media gaslighting, weaponized courts, and the deafening silence from the left when violence serves their agenda. But let's get something straight. They may have seized the institutions, but they'll never own us. They can't censor convictions. They can't outlaw truth. And they sure as hell can't silence a nation that's had enough. To every patriot tuned in, this isn't background noise. It's your call to action. The truth doesn't come neatly packaged in headlines. It doesn't trend unless we push it. It rises through voices like yours, carried by shows like this, Unfiltered, Uncensored, Unafraid. This country was built. This country wasn't built by cowards. It wasn't shaped by people who waited for permission. It was forged by those who stood their ground and said enough. Now it's our turn. Don't retreat. Don't rationalize. Don't wait for someone else to carry the weight. You're on the line. You're the last firewall between liberty and collapse. They'll try to shame you, call you names, silence your speech. But every time you speak the truth, you weaken their grip. This isn't just about commentary. It's about combat. Cultural war combat. One segment at a time. One stand at a time. One undeniable truth at a time. And when the show goes off, don't go silent. Be louder. Share the voices that won't be silent. Be the megaphone they can't unplug. Because we're not done. We're just getting started. And when the show goes off the air, don't be quiet. Amplify the voices that refuse to be censored. Again, coming up right after the show, well, actually 1 hour after the show at 8 p.m. the left coast, 11 p.m. the east coast, is Edge of Liberty, which Zach had Sean. BZ Berserk Bobcat Saloon is Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. the left coast, 12 p.m. the east coast. Mission Ready Men with Big E Jackson, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Yeah, 12 p.m. on the East Coast. And of course, Reaver Common Sense, that's me, Monday and Friday nights at 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern. All live, all raw, all unapologetic. Remember, this just isn't radio, it's resistance. So stand tall, speak truth, and never surrender your common sense to their insanity. Until next time, stay loud, stay proud, stay relevant. This is the Reaver Common Sense. Good night.